Hello, I'm here with Amma Marine to discuss windlasses. So in this video, I'm going to give you a basic understanding of their purpose and then showcase the different models that might be right for you. Whether you're creating an entire windlass kit on the pulpit of your boat or you're replacing, it's a nice 101 video on how windlasses are designed and how to install them. So basically to start, we have to start from scratch. From scratch, I mean anchors. So you want to set an anchor, you can just throw it overboard. Now, if you do that, it's pretty easy, except there's a number of different issues that can come into play quite easily. Throwing the anchor is a lot easier than pulling the anchor out. Now, if you're using rope, it's the weight of the rope plus the anchor to pull back in. If you're using chain or a combination, it gets heavy pretty quick. So the windlass is designed to mechanically lift the anchor back up. Now, the other thing that you need to consider is when you throw the anchor overboard, if you're using chain, you want to make sure, first of all, not to damage the boat with the anchor, but at the same time, as the rope pulls out, if you've got chain, the chain might scratch as well. So a setup of a windlass resolves this issue with a number of different components, starting with the actual anchor. So once you have the anchor, you would want to have something that protects it as it goes up and down. And this is the bow roller. So normally set in the front of the boat, at the bow of the boat, or on the pulpit being the piece at the end of the bow. You would set up something like this so that when the anchor comes up, it comes up, rotates, and settles properly. And there's no scratching, as all of the friction occurs inside the bow roller. There are a number of different configurations of bow roller. I just used one as an example, but it's to give you a basic understanding of how the anchor would mechanically go up and down. It would release out, and all the chain would drag on the stainless steel surface here, or any other configuration you have with different sizes, but it would not damage the boat. Now, when it comes to actually lifting it, it's a lot more difficult because of what I discussed concerning the weight. So this is where the windlasses come in handy. So the windlasses, they work electrically, and I'll set this down so I can make some space and to show you a typical windlass. There are different models, which I'll show you in a minute. So a windlass works usually 12 volts electrically, and it's operated by either a foot switch or a console switch. And so the purpose of it is to pull the chain using a gear, or pull the rope using the inner gear, or a combination of the two where the rope becomes chain and vice versa. As the motor catches the inner gear, it's pulling up the rope and progresses into chain on the outer gears. Now, as this motor turns one way or another, if it turns this way, it's pulling in, it's lifting the anchor. If it's going down, it's setting the anchor out. And over here you can see, as it rotates, it's going to drop it in a chute, in a hole. And usually that's right under the deck. So it's a pretty simple design. There's an electric motor that is geared up so that it can pull this rope and chain, and see this spring-loaded finger keeps that rope or that chain down and under tension, so it sets in the gear. And so it's as simple as that, and it's just a question of configuring it in a proper fashion where you've got everything lined up. You know, and you can have all sorts of different configurations where it's just pulling the anchor, and this will set it nice and tight. So under that basic 101 understanding, let's look at the different models. The one I'm showing you here is actually a horizontal model, which means there's no big hole to do, and the chain goes through, or the rope goes through, and you make a hole and it settles down. All of the electrical component and all of the machinery actually happens above the deck. So that's a horizontal windlass here. A vertical windlass has a smaller footprint on the top deck, but a larger footprint below deck. So the gear system is the same, but it will act differently because all of the mechanical systems is below. So in this particular vertical windlass, it's going in through here, and you can see it based on the finger, and it's going out through this side. So that's a vertical windlass. And there's different variants of it. A capstan windlass, where you wrap it around itself, and the tension created by the wrap around will continue to pull. So it has no gear. So you tie it around itself, and then it keeps pulling until it fills all of the rope up here. So this one builds up, and there's no chute that throws it down below. So this is a capstan style. Now, capstans also exist on other windlasses. So here we have an example of a windlass that has the option of a capstan at the top. So if that's right for you and you want something like that, it can act as a winch. So this is the basic different models that exist on vertical windlasses. They're all electrically operated, and then there are switches for it. Now, there are sizes, and there are small little differences between each. So if we look at a horizontal windlass such as this one, it's a smaller unit, and so it'll normally go on a smaller boat. So it'll take less energy, it'll take less current, but it will also lift up significantly less. And then based on the windlasses, you'll have different chains that exist, because these gears may be smaller, gears might be larger, and so they're basically designed to fit any boat and to fit any chain depending on what you have. So if you're creating one, you're starting from scratch, so you can set up the equipment and the accessories that you want. So this goes over the basic understanding of this, and then the options lie in the switching. So you've got switches that are on the console where you're driving, so you go up and down, and some of the things that are really neat is this is a 200 amp switch, so it doesn't require an actual solenoid relay. So you have all of the current going through the switch continuing on to the windlass. So it's very, very simple to install. You're basically drawing the line from the battery right to the switch, and the switch continues on to the windlass. So it's kind of a neat setup, and you can have multiple switches. So these are some of the newer designs where all the amperage runs in, so there's less wiring to do and less hassle. You also have, of course, foot switches at the front. Normally when you're up on the deck, you'd be able to trigger them with your feet or your toes to lift up, and you might have two, one for up, one for down. So these are switches, these are waterproof switches that go on the deck, as you can see here. Now, along the windlasses, you also have different clutches that exist. So two models. So you have the pull up, pull down. In other words, the motor is gearing up when you want to go up. It's going to turn. And when you go down, same thing, it turns down. There's also such a thing as a free fall down. A free fall down includes a neutral clutch, so that when you're going up, it's all the same. It goes up and it chains up or it ropes up, and when you push down, it releases the clutch and turns freely. So it basically turns it into free spin. And so the anchor slides down on its own weight. So those are called free fall systems. So I hope that helps, because that's a question we get often. Now, if you don't have such a large boat, there are other models that exist that are smaller and more compact, often for pontoons. Or smaller crafts. So this is an all-in-one contained windlass, which you install from the bracket underneath, and it already comes pre-spooled with rope, and it also comes with a folding bow roller. And so the anchor would go in and settle inside and turn 90 degrees, and the control panel would be directly on the unit. But of course you can also it comes with a remote control, so you can walk around and you can trigger it, or it comes with optional secondary remotes, which you can wire also to the console. So this is an option too, if you don't want to go through the trouble, or you don't have the boat for such a large type of windlass, this can help as well. I actually have an anchor here, so you can see it would stick out the side, and as it lifts, it would lift and settle. So it's a great functionality if you don't want to lift your anchor up. So hopefully this goes through a little bit of the list and it helps you understand how windlasses work and gets you better idea and better tool to do your install. Thank you.